And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Katie Greifeld taking you through to that closing bell with a global simulcast. It starts now. Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec join us from the radio booth. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. A very consequential day in markets on a very consequential week. A big focus on earnings, a big focus on geopolitics in Washington, and of course a big focus right now on the state of the economy.
You know, and I was just thinking, I actually have a pinky ring for you,
Do
Romaine,
you?
in case you're interested in buying, consumer spending.
Oh, I thought it was a gift.
Our audience has no idea why you're bringing that up.
No, I thought you were just talking about a pinky ring. Were you not on air?
How did you listen to that? Because we're, you on air?
We have our peeps, a.k.a. Finley.
Your sources, I see.
Listen, I do feel like 24 hours from now, right, we're going to be all over Nvidia. That's a big one. Do we just get a confirmation, a rehash of everything we heard from their big event in Washington, D.C. recently, or do we get something more that is more supportive of the AI spend?
Well, for the market's sake, I think we need more, right?
Well, or maybe we need some of the fluff to come out. We've had quite a bounce back. Some would say a little bit of a normal correction or a normal.
See my crooked smile.
The NASDAQ composite, or NASDAQ 100 down about 1.2%. Earlier in the session, it was down as much as 2%. So I thought the tone, of today's trade, I thought was going to be a lot more negative. It's still, don't get me wrong, negative, but things could have been a lot worse earlier in the session.
Yeah, you definitely saw a little bit of dip buying here on this day, but still a lot of trepidation about where we go next. And as Carol says, a bit of a holding pattern until we see what Nvidia has to say about 24 hours from now. Meanwhile, in the here and now, 4 p.m. in New York, we get the closing bells and we get the clapping. I assume that's obligatory even on a down day like today, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average closing lower by roughly 500 points or about 1%. The S&P down about 55 points or 0.8%. The NASDAQ composite down 1.2%. And we should point out all of those indices right now, not only below the 50-day moving averages, but now within reach of testing the 100-day moving averages. One of the few bright spots there on the day, though, was a Russell 2000 up about 7 points or 0.3%.
Yeah, really fascinating. Back to the big caps, large caps in the S&P 500. At the close, a little bit more negative and kind of an even split here, guys. 250 names, Katie, to the upside, 253 to the downside.
Wow.
Yeah, almost even.
Almost even. Pretty dang close. Same thing, too, when you take a look at the circle here. You had 6 sectors finish in the green, 5 in the red, but take a look at what is red on that pie. Information technology, that was your biggest points loser on the day. That's why we had such a negative day in the markets. In terms of what did well, healthcare, energy, communication services, consumer staples as well. But again, tech, consumer discretionary, and industrials, the biggest weights, Carol. All
right, you mentioned healthcare, and kind of I'm looking at the medical space here as really a top performer in today's session. In fact, the #1 gainer in the S&P 500, Medtronic, ticker MDT, that stock finishing with a gain of 4.6%. We did see it up the most in 5 years, its highest intraday in about 3.5 years. The news, the medical device maker lifted the bottom end of its range for adjusted profit forecast for the year. Company also boosted its organic revenue outlook following better than expected results in the second quarter. As I said, I just want to clarify, up the most in 5 years and its highest intraday in about 3.5 years. So anyway, some outperformance, not a name that we talk about on a regular basis. Merck, also an outperformer here. This one up about 3.9% in today's session. The drug maker said a mid-stage trial of its drug for a rare form of high blood pressure met its main goal. So analysts see this as a win, a trial win, as a potential for an expanded market for its drug Winrevair. Stock, though, still down about 2% year to date. And then I just want to mention strategy, because this one up about 5.8%. I'm not exactly sure why. Bitcoin has fallen so much, about 30% from its 2025 peak. So we did have a story in the Bloomberg, a rare euro-denominated preferred stock offered by Michael Saylor's Bitcoin treasury company has fallen below its offer price. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why
Bitcoin bounced off its recent lows today, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're also talking about a stock that's down, 37% in the past 6 weeks, so that could have something to do with it too.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for these.
Sure thing.
It's a group effort.
Glad we can help.
I will give you a pinky ring now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's talk about what's going on the downside. Stocks in the red today. Nvidia shares falling 2.8%, down for another day. The company, of course, reporting after the bell tomorrow, just after 4 o'clock. We'll have special coverage in those results live as soon as we get them. Shares falling as much as 3.7% earlier in the session. They're now down 12.4% from those all-time highs back in October. We should note, too, Microsoft, along with Nvidia, committing to invest up to a combined $15 billion in Anthropic. That's a move that ties Anthropic, which makes Claude closer to two of the biggest backers for its rival, OpenAI, which of course makes ChatGPT. In tech, also today, Amazon shares fell 4.4%. Microsoft closed out the day 2.8% to the downside. These companies saw their ratings cut to neutral from buy on Tuesday as Rothschild & Co. Redburn's Alexander Heisel downgraded the stocks for the first time since initiating coverage back in June 2022. He writes that the industry's, quote, trust us, Gen AI is just like the early cloud 1.0 narrative looks increasingly misplaced. He stated that underlying economics are, quote, far weaker than assumed. And finally, Home Depot shares falling 6% today. The company cut its full-year earnings guidance. It warned that some unsteady consumers are hitting the pause button on big-ticket home purchases. We're going to get more numbers tomorrow. We'll get Target, we'll get Lowe's, we'll get Williams-Sonoma, we'll get TJX, we'll get Walmart later this week, so we'll get a better idea of what the consumer is doing, seeing if this is more of a one-off or if this is something bigger.
Well, just an honorable mention, I was keeping an eye on shares of Klarna. They finished down more than 9% on the day, worst day since they went public just a few months ago. And the idea that they're setting aside a lot more money, Tim, for potential credit losses, that seemed to rattle a lot of folks. And when you start to talk about consumer spending, it's not always just about whether people want to spend, but also the idea that if you have a more holistic environment where things are deteriorating, does that then become a factor with regards to people continuing to spend?
Yeah, I feel like these buy now, pay later, you think that just because these companies are busy, it's a good sign, but it in terms of for them, but what it says about the economy and maybe consumers feeling a little bit
like what are people
paying
later for?
Yeah.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And are they paying later?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and these are some of the things that, of course, the Fed is going to have to debate at its meeting in about 3 weeks. And you take a look at where yields went today, and I think it really shows you kind of the breakdown, I think, in bets and exactly which direction the Fed would go. We should point out that the implied probability on the Bloomberg terminal of a rate cut in December is still under 50%. But when you consider some of the deterioration we've seen in labor market data, maybe some of the deterioration that we're seeing in some of the consumer company earnings, maybe that changes what exactly the Fed has to do when they meet in 3 weeks.
All right, guys, let's get to some stories that are certainly on our radar here. We've been focusing, I'm sure you guys too, out of the nation's capital, the White House, President Trump's meeting with MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. Okay. Well, what?
I thought you were going for the other story out of Washington.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This is a market show, Carol.
I know. I'm trying to keep it, family show.
Right.
Hey, having said that, the Trump Organization planning a luxury resort in the Maldives with a Saudi Arabian partner and plans to tokenize the hotel development project.
That sounds interesting.
It's the Trump International Hotel Maldives. It'll include 80 ultra-luxury beach and overwater villas. It'll be built with Dar Global PLC, the two companies said in a joint statement on Monday. It'll also mark the launch of the world's first tokenized hotel development tied to the project.
Very dark outside behind you right now, Tim.
Yeah, that tends to happen this time of year.
4 p.m.
If you actually go to the southern hemisphere, it's light and warm this time of year.
Did you have nothing to share on our story?
Absolutely not.
I can tell.
All
right, Katie, over to you.
In this
Godspeed
sense,
for all you investors in
means, I guess,
tokenized Maldives, Saudi Arabian-backed.
You can buy digital shares,
resort,
perhaps, in the form of tokens.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting to a certain type of investor. Let's talk a little bit about Topgolf. I don't
Someone will make money on
golf.
That's for sure.
Romaine, sitting to my right, does. Apparently, Topgolf has agreed to sell a 60% stake in Topgolf and Top Tracer businesses to Leonard Green and Partners. That is a LA private equity firm.
All I have to say, I just hope they don't mess this up. I mean, this is actually, Topgolf is really kind of one of the big success stories. I mean, when you think about kind of what they did and the kind of gamification of a game, but the idea that just made it a lot more accessible. It's fun. You can take everybody there. It doesn't matter your skill level. And of course, we know whenever private equity gets involved in something, we got.
That's the thing. If you're trying to get into golf, it's a little bit of a chew. Really, the only intermediate step is mini golf, which I understand is not very close to the actual game.
Not at all, Katie Greifel. Do you golf?
No, not much of a
What about you,
golfer.
Carol? Carol doesn't.
No, but my dad was a big golfer. My brother.
Obviously, I'm not a golfer.
Okay. All right.
Obviously.
So this is the wrong crowd
you
to
a
talk to.
golfer?
Yes.
Oh, are
And
you
a great one, too.
Loves
by
to
the way.
hit the links.
Like 110? What's your score?
110? How dare you?
He's well under.
I'm like 18.
Under what?
I'm like 18 handicap. But there you go.
Wow.
Not to brag.
All right. All right. We
And that's
got
with the full-time
Where do you have the
job.
time? Where do you have the time to do
Exactly.
that, Romaine?
That's what I'm saying. A full-time job, family.
Yeah.
Imagine if I get laid off. I'll be on the PGA Tour.
Don't say that.
That's
Be
like
coming
Steve.
sooner
That's
than
Steve.
later.
That's Steve Cohen's big bet. That we'll become so much more productive in the coming years that we'll have more time to play golf.
That is.
Will we have money to do that?
long
Because
time.
that's why we work.